Hello everyone, welcome to Tutorials by Dacade. My name is Dacade, and in this video we are going to work on scene transitions. So like walking into the house and ending up in the interior of a house, or a dungeon or a cave or whatever it is that you want. We will be able to do that for you here. So before we go any further, if you've liked any of my previous videos, then go ahead and give this one a big old thumbs up right now. If you want to learn more, and if you have watched any of my videos, make sure you subscribe, as I do have videos like this coming out all the time, and I don't want you to miss anything. With that out of the way, we are going to begin. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to our prefabs. We are going to create a new folder and name it player. And then we're just going to drag our player in there. This won't be necessary yet, but we might as well get that done now while we can. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our, oh, hold on. Unity's been acting weird for me, so let's see what's going on here. Yes, you've been busy for a few seconds. There we go. All right, we're going to go to our rooms. We're going to go to room 00. We are going to create a new empty and name it transitions. Make sure its position is 000. And then underneath that, we're going to create another empty, and we're just going to call it transition. We'll make it something short. Trans to house. That way we can figure out what that means. There's a little bit of work that we can do. Now we could just drop a little trigger box right here, but I don't think that would look very good. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go to our grid. We're going to go to our tile palette here. And apparently that's going to take a minute to load. All right. On our collisions layer, we're just going to erase just this part right there. Then what we're going to do is we are going to create a new tile map from tile palette, and we'll just call this one walkable 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find that doorway, which should be that guy right there. And we're just going to pop that in there. Then we're going to get out of the tile palette. And everything should be good. If not, just change the order and layer for the walkable 2 to just 1. So what that's doing is that's creating essentially a void where the player could technically walk right here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our trans to house, and we are going to move that. I do believe, yep, it is 11.5 on X, 3.5, oh, not 2, 3.5 on the Y. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a component. We're going to add a box collider 2D. We're going to edit that box collider, and we're just going to shrink it up just a little bit so it matches the house. We're going to make sure it is also a trigger. As far as Unity is concerned, for right now, that is all we need to do. We are going to close some of that out. We are going to go to our script folder, and we are going to go to our room folder, and now we are going to create scripts. I hit the wrong button. That back up. There we go. I did it again. What is going on? There we go. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is right click and hit create, and mono behavior script. We're going to name this one scene spawn manager. We are going to create another mono behavior script once Unity allows us. And we're going to name this one scene transition trigger. Hopefully I spelled that right, because, yeah. All right, we are good. Unity's doing its thing again. Now there's one more thing that we're going to do before we actually get into those scripts. We're going to go to our scenes folder. We are going to right click. We are going to create. We are going to go to scenes. And we're just going to do a regular scene. We will name this House 1 Interior. And we're not going to do anything with that just yet. Instead, we're going to go back to our scripts and we're going to open up the scene spawn manager. Get rid of all of that. And we're going to go up here and type in using Unity engine scene management. So this is what we're going to use in order to manage our scenes, in order to transition from one to another. First, we're going to want to make this a public static string spawn point name. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a private void on enable. And all we're going to do in here is scene manager dot scene loaded plus equals on scene loaded. And that's going to give you an error. We are going to fix that here shortly. We're going to do another private void on disabled, or just on disable. And we're going to do scene manager dot scene loaded minus equals on scene loaded. And then down here, we're going to create that on scene loaded. We're going to do a private void on scene loaded scene, and then load scene mode, and we're just going to call it mode. All right. Now we're going to check if there is no string that is null or empty and it is spawn point name. So in other words, if spawn point name is not empty, then we're going to do a game object spawn, and we're going to name that game object spawn, and we're going to give that game object dot find spawn point name. We're going to do another check if spawn is not null, meaning there is a spawn, then game object player equals game object dot find with tag player. And then we're going to do another check if player is not null, meaning there is a player, then we are going to player.transform.position to spawn.transform.position. So real fast, what all this is doing, whenever a scene is loaded, we're going to run this script down here. And whenever a scene is disabled, it's going to just get rid of all this stuff. And what we're doing here is we're checking to see if there's a spawn point. And we're going to set up that spawn point here in just a few minutes. If there is a spawn point, then it's going to give it a name, which is going to be the spawn point name. And if the spawn point exists, then it's going to find the player. And if the player exists, it's going to move the player to wherever we put the spawn point. So that's what this little script here does. Now we need to work on the scene transition trigger. So I got to open up Unity again real fast. And I got to open up that script. We're going to get rid of all of this. Gonna drive me crazy. And in here, again, we need to put a using Unity engine dot scene management. And down here, we're going to put in a tooltip. to be the name of the scene to load. Then we're going to serialize that field. We're going to do a private string target scene name. We're going to do one more tooltip, and it's going to be a position. I spell that. That doesn't look right to me. Position to place player in new scene. We're also going to serialize that field, and we're going to name it a private string spawn point tag. All right. And then the only other thing we need to do in here is actually trigger it. So private void on trigger enter 2D. Remember, I like to change this to other. All right. We are going to do if other dot compare tag is the player. We are going to look at the scene spawn manager spawn point name, and we're going to make that spawn point name the spawn point tag. Then we are going to go into our scene manager, and we are going to load the scene, and we're going to load the target scene name. And that is all we need to do for this script. And all this script is doing is whenever the player enters the trigger zone, it is going to check to see if it was the player first. And then where it says scene spawn manager dot spawn point name, oh, back here we have that spawn point name. So we're going to make that spawn point name the spawn point tag, and then we're going to load a scene. So in order to do all of that, what we also need to do actually is go to our player script. Player script in here. And underneath all of this, we do need to do one very important thing. Right before start, we need to add a private void awake. And in this, oh, I forgot to do something at the very top here, which is also very important. So one of the first things up here should be a public static player instance. Now down here, we are going to do if instance is null, meaning there is no instance. We are going to make the instance this. And then don't destroy on load game object. Else, in other words, if there is already an instance, we are going to destroy this. So what we're doing is we're going to have a persistent player, meaning that whenever we change scenes, the player will be persistent. It'll be the same. So if we get damaged, then in the new scene, we'll still be damaged. Otherwise, and each scene will have a player, or should I say, if we don't do it this way, each scene will have a player, but it's going to involve a lot more code and a lot more work in order to make all the stats and everything persistent. Whereas if we just do this little code up here, public static player instance, and then in the awake function, we just add all of that. Now we have a persistent player that will always be the same no matter what scene he or she is in. Now that that's done, we will go over to Unity, and we will do a little bit of work here. So that transition to house, we are going to need to add. Sorry, hold on, my notes got all messed up here. There we go. We need to add the scene transition trigger. The scene transition name is going to be the name that you made. for that new scene. So house 1 interior. As the theme of most of my videos, naming is very important. So make sure you name it something that you will remember and make sure it is spelled correctly. And if you misspelled it down here, you need to misspell it up here or you need to fix your mistake, one of the two. Spawn point tag, we are going to name that spawn entrance. That means absolutely nothing right now, and I will explain to you why in a minute, but we need to add this to our new scene. So that should be all we need to do here. So make sure you hold in Control S or Command S or go up to File and Save. We are going to double click on our new scene. And as you can see, it's just like our very first video. There is absolutely nothing in here. So for time's sake, I'm not going to do anything in here as far as adding scenery or anything like that. But by all means, if you want to do that, go right ahead. If you do need a refresher, I do believe part 3 and part 4 we're working on the rooms. So just refer back to those videos and design your little interior all to your liking. But I'm not going to do that, just again for sake of speeding things along. With that being said, what we do need to do in here is we need to create an empty, and we're going to name that spawn entrance. And we do need to create another empty and name that game manager. In that game manager, we are going to add the scene spawn manager. And that's all that you need to do with that. And in the spawn entrance, you're going to want to move that to wherever your spawn point is. I'm moving it to 0, 0, 0 just for simplicity's sake. But if you did design like an interior, wherever your actual entry point that you want the player to enter is, that's where you're going to need to move that. Other thing that we're going to need to do, and again, this isn't necessary yet, but it will be later down the road, we're going to add a tag. We're going to create a new tag, and we're just going to name it spawn point. I don't know why it didn't create, so we'll just do it again. Spawn point. There we go. Go back to our spawn entrance and just name that spawn point. Now you are going to have to remember whatever you named this. So again, I named it spawn underscore entrance. So remember what you named that. We're going to save this scene. Again, Control S, Command S, or go up to File and hit Save. And now we are going to go back to our first scene. We are going to go to where we put that transition. And again, we want to make sure it says spawn entrance. Now, if we've done everything right, we can hit play. And we can move our player over and walk through there. Oh, haha, I forgot to do a very important thing. So before we can actually do that, we have to actually add the scene to the build. In order to do that, we got to go to File. We got to go to Build Profiles. And where it says Scene List, we can just drag and drop. I guess we can't drag and drop anymore. Open Scene List and now drag and drop. Yes, there we go. So we need to drag and drop that scene into here, into your scene list. And now when that's done, now we should be able to do this. So we'll hit play. And we are going to just walk right there. And there's our scene. There's our player. Now, real fast, just to show you that this is persistent, let's hit play again. And we're going to keep an eye on player health right here. So I am going to go and find our little slime friend. There he is. I'll walk into him once, walk into him twice, and then I'll just put him out of his misery. All right, 3 times, fine. So you notice our current health is at 3. So if we go into our house interior and we load up our player, you'll notice that our health is still at 3. So that is how we have a persistent player throughout these scenes. So what you would want to do in your house interior is essentially do the same thing but opposite. You want to have a transition somewhere, put a scene transition trigger script on it. You're going to want to name the target scene. Right now it's just sample scene. And then spawn point, you're going to want to put a spawn point. I wouldn't put it right there because then you'll just constantly go back and forth and you'll get stuck in a loop. So instead I would put the spawn point maybe right here, and then name that spawn point something that you can remember, because then you're going to go back into that other scene, put the spawn point tag in there, and then you'd be able to transition back and forth between the two. So for now, we have a simple transition. I'm going to end this video here. In the next video, we will add another transition back into this scene, as well as adding some little transition effects, possibly even a load screen. And that should be all we need to do for transition, is this video and the next one. So if you haven't already and you like this video, make sure you give it a big old thumbs up. Again, don't forget to subscribe, as I have videos like this coming out all the time and I don't want you to miss anything. And with all of that out of the way, as always, thank you. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next video.